Alrighty, what is going on, boys? Welcome back to episode 16 of the Monday Morning Quarterbacks Podcast. We are joined by Josh in the upper left, Big P in the upper right, and we got Connor in the bottom right. We got all the updated picks on the top left. And let's get into it, boys. Wild card weekend. What are our initial thoughts?
Saw it
The
all
Dolphins
coming.
were terrible.
Even the Packers did. Yeah, I want to start with the Packers because the Cowboys are frauds. We know they're frauds. Everyone's hyping up the Packers right now. Like Jordan Love's already a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, where was this? Like what, 4 or 5 weeks ago? The guy, for me, Josh was saying, held the team get the first overall pick. Now,
I think that was
first
like
ballot Hall of
7 or
Famer.
8.
I don't know.
Yeah, highest QBR in the NFL for the past 7-8 weeks. Since week 11, I think, was the official stat.
It's pretty
Sorry, go
impressive.
ahead.
We're gonna see a real quarterback next week in Brock Purdy. He's gonna send y'all home, all right? And then it'll be the Lions playing the 49ers, knocking them off, going to the Super Bowl.
Connor, what were your thoughts when you picked the Cowboys and then you just watched them get smacked? And they were down like 32 points at one point.
It's kind of like I can't.
And you have to watch the guy you traded away in Dynasty just dominate.
I got a haul for it, so I actually think I won that trade, to be honest. But I don't know. We'll see here. I mean, 49ers is a tough game for y'all, and you know it too. You know.
I mean,
So,
yeah, we're
if I'm the
10-point
Lions-
dogs. Last week was a tough game for us. We were 7.5-point dogs. Speaking of dogs, let's talk about the dogs of the Green Bay Packers. Let's go, baby. Dude, I just had a gut feeling about that game that we were gonna win. And this team just feels so much different than past Packers teams, because instead of being in the spot where it's like we have Aaron Rodgers, we dominate all season long, we come into the playoffs as the 1 or 2 seed, we rest, we have a bye, we're huge favorites in a game. It's like no one believes in us. We're the dogs in every game. We're the youngest team in NFL history to make the playoffs. And this team just feels so connected. And, like, it's such a different situation with Love than it was with Rodgers. Because Rodgers is almost like your dad out there. Like, Rodgers was a good 15 years older than a lot of these guys. He's like your fun uncle. And it's like, I don't know. He's, like, not going out with the guys. He's not, like, consistently hanging with all the guys on the team. Whereas Jay Love's, like, the same age as all these guys. And he's just, like, can relate to them more. They feel so, like, well connected. And imagine we drop what, 48 points on the Cowboys, and Jaden Reed, our leading receiver this year, doesn't even have a catch.
0 receptions. Yeah.
Aaron Jones.
Career game for Romeo.
Aaron Jones owns Dallas. In Dallas, he's from Texas, and I think he has 10 touchdowns in 3 career games there, which is crazy.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, but
It is nice. It's nice being in a spot where we're underdogs, no one believes in us, and there's no pressure at all on us. Like, we're just happy to be here. When's the last time we were in the playoffs and we were just happy to be there? Like, every time Rodgers took us to the playoffs, we're thinking we have to
Expectations.
go to the Super Bowl or it's a failed season.
Yeah.
Such an interesting place to be. Way more exciting.
and on the flip side of it, the Niners have all the pressure, and Brock Purdy.
Yep.
There's going to be major controversy in the offseason if the Packers find a way to win this game around Brock Purdy, because that team is so talented, and he's not been able to get it done for what would be 2 seasons in a row. To be fair, he got hurt last year, but still. There's so much talent, and that team is so good for him to not be able to get it done. And he's had games where it's like you just watch him play, and he just looks off. And it's like the Ravens game, for example. He threw 4 picks. Granted, some of them are tips. Some you watch that game, and it's like, okay, maybe not all those picks are his fault. But he just did not look like himself. He looked super uncomfortable. And in a super high-stress playoff game where there's no pressure on us, all the pressure on them, I'm super excited. I mean, I guess we're still in the recapping phase. We'll get to that game eventually. But
I don't know if y'all remember when Cam Newton came out with those takes a couple weeks ago, and everyone was like, shut the fuck up, Cam. Pretty much, we called those 4 QBs game managers. Well, the 4 QBs he called game managers were Dak Prescott, who got murdered. Dak Prescott, Tua, who got murdered, and then Jared Goff, who won the game, and he also called out Brock Purdy. So that's like interesting. Cam's pretty good at calling out his game managers, and Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
When you lose a game, I mean, it doesn't make Cam right. I think what Cam said is insane, but just because
They're game
Tua,
managers.
Tua and Dak
sucks.
are just
Tua sucks.
average, completely run of the mill,
Tua
average
sucks.
game managers.
Dude,
That's crazy.
that Dolphins team, I mean, people were too busy paying attention to the collapse of the Eagles. That Dolphins team, like the odds that they had of not winning the division were crazy. So then not only to not win the division, but to make the playoffs and then play that bad, it's just like they also just had a massive collapse down the stretch. And it's like no one even noticed it. And it's like what do you even think about Tua and Jalen at this point? Like if you let your team fall that hard, it's on the QB to some extent. It always is. I don't care how bad your coaching is. So
It's tough. And Jalen was playing with dislocated finger, but him and Tua just could not throw the ball. Especially Tua. Tua gave up in that game halfway through the third quarter, and it was bizarre to watch.
yeah,
Like literally, they had a 4th and 12. Like game's basically on the line. You don't get it, you lose. And he throws a 3-yard check down. He's just not even he's not even in it at that point. Like you don't even care.
It seemed like It seemed like the whole team did not want to be there. The Dolphins and the Eagles, both those teams did not want to play football. It was insane to see. I don't know what's going on with either of those teams and their collapses, but neither of them wanted to be there.
Well, the Dolphins you can understand because it was just freezing.
Yeah.
Like I get it in that spot. Like Tua's clearly just cannot throw the ball in the cold, and the Dolphins are a track team that were trying to run through a foot of snow in freezing 0-degree weather. Wasn't a foot of snow. I don't even think there was really any snow on the field, but you know what I mean. Just freezing weather. Like they just didn't want it. They got smoked 26-7.
they did not want it.
Should we go into the Texans-Browns game? Joe
Touch
Flacco
on that.
versus the Rook. CJ Stroud and J Love had literally the same exact stat line.
Yeah.
Same attempts, same completions, same passer rating, same amount of touchdowns. CJ Stroud had 2 more passing yards.
Did you see the PFF grades on the CJ Stroud versus Jordan Love for those games?
No.
It was insane. Jordan Love got like the highest grade of the whole season at like 92.8. And CJ Stroud got a grade of like 71 or something.
That's weird.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of people. That was like a whole controversy where PFF is like not like relevant because like when you look at the stats, but that's the whole point of PFF. Even though the stats are identical, they had totally different games. CJ Stroud missed a couple touchdowns there. Jordan Love definitely played a better game, so I think that PFF grade is accurate.
Jordan Love fanboy down there.
JJ Watt was making a big deal about how the PFF is like a complete waste of time and you shouldn't pay attention to it at all. But when you like look at the stats and how it gets that number, like it does make sense. Like you're throwing in double coverage and the receiver makes a crazy play, like that is not gonna help your grade anymore. So it's like taking all that stuff into account and like how many times a receiver was open and he didn't hit them, stuff like that. So
Nico Collins
it was crazy to see that.
Is so good.
Yeah.
Nico Collins is so good, bro. Like he just was uncoverable at moments. Like back-to-back weeks, he's just been like, you watch him, you just go, wow. How old is he? 24?
I think he's 24. Yeah.
He sneaky
24,
might be
25.
like the most underrated receiver in the league because there was no hype around him this season, and he had such a good year, and he's just like balling. I like him a lot.
He's been huge for the Texans.
The Texans still good. Here's that wide receiver. I know Tank Dell's out for the season. No Brown back yet?
No, Brown's on IR now. He got hurt again in that game.
Mm-hmm. It's Robert Woods is the 2.
Okay.
No? Bobby Tree. No, I don't think. I think Mechie's been the 2 and Robbie is the 3. Yeah, and Xavier Hutchinson's been on the field a lot too. Yeah.
Texans
What do we have to do to beat the Nico?
There's something here. You said all you gotta do to beat the Texans is take away Nico?
Yeah, I mean the Colts win that game for sure if they stop Nico. I think CJ Stroud went for like 250 in the game against the Colts, and Nico Collins had like 190 of those yards. So, and the Colts lost on the last play of the game. And obviously, last week was a little different, but stop Nico.
The Texans played the Colts in the first round of the playoffs. Is that what we're talking about?
Unofficial first round, yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
The Colts were looking extra orange that day.
We touched a little bit on the Chiefs Dolphins. I mean, it's just Mahomes at home in the playoffs. He just doesn't lose.
Doesn't lose.
He's played 16 home playoff games now and 0 road playoff games. He's going into his first road playoff
Going
game
into the
this week,
first.
which is very
This
interesting.
is really his first of his career. That's
Yep.
insane. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, they
Had a
looked
lot of
good.
firsts this season.
Kelsey and Pacheco both balled. What were you saying, P? Sorry to cut you off.
No, Mahomes had a lot of firsts this season, but they've all been bad as far as like his lowest yard game, his lowest QBR. Like it's been his worst season as a pro, so it's kind of fitting that he's about to go into his first road playoff game. See how that goes.
Nice. Yeah, but Pacheco balled. Kelsey looked fine. I mean, minus his 3 drops. Rasheed looked really good. Yeah, they like Rasheed a lot. It's like finally giving Mahomes a little bit of confidence, actually throwing to one of his receivers and like one guy that's reliable.
And Kadarius is completely phased out and been replaced by Miko, from what I could see. Miko was doing all of the Kadarius stuff, and Kadarius was like a healthy scratch, I think.
Yep.
So.
And Sky Moore should be back this week as well, which will be interesting to see like how they use him. Move on to the Rams-Lions game. Detroit got their first playoff win in 30 years.
Wow.
Jared Goff is on top of the world right now. I don't know if you've seen the videos coming out of Detroit. He is the king of Detroit. Insane. I'm so happy for him. I love this team right now. Obviously, I'm a Colts guy, but the Lions are my team. I've been saying it since like week 16. This is my team for the Super Bowl. They are scary, man, and they got a super easy road to the playoffs. I mean, obviously, I think everyone's pretty much chalking them up to a W this week. We did last week almost. If we play the Packers, bro, we're in the Super Bowl, and we're probably playing the Chiefs. That's what, the week 1 rematch?
Probably playing the Chiefs. You're saying so many things right now. I'm sorry.
I was lost at like playing. He just said the Packers are gonna get annihilated this weekend. Then he said playing the Packers. So I don't know what's. And then he said Chiefs Super Bowl. What's going on here?
If we play the Packers, dude, the Lions are automatically in. I mean, did you guys beat the Lions?
Well, we played the Lions recently, didn't we?
In Ford Field.
What happened in that game? I don't remember it at all.
Okay. I'm not.
Fill us in, Connor.
I don't even know who won.
I don't know, man. Jared Goff's hot. You don't want to play him in Detroit, too.
I mean, did you watch the second half of that football game, Connor? How many points did the Colts or the Lions have in the second half of that game?
You don't need to put up points when you're winning by so many, you know?
Oh, my God, bro. They won by 1 point.
They barely eked out that win.
The Rams had 3 drives into the red zone that did not result in a tutty.
Coulda, woulda, all right?
That's not Jared Goff cooking. That's the defense bailing him out.
No, this was a clinical performance by the Lions, all right?
Clinical by letting up almost 200 to a rookie wide receiver.
Dude's letting the first playoff win just go straight to his head, man.
I don't know if y'all saw Ford Field break the records for how loud it got, but it's the Loud House over there.
The what house?
Loud House.
Could you spell that for us?
Yeah.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Loud House, all right? It was Lucas Oil Stadium, but obviously we're not in it anymore. But the Loud House has been transferred to Ford Field.
I don't think Lucas Oil's been loud for like a decade.
Oh, I don't want to hear it, man. You should have been there for that.
Since Pierre Garçon was still in the uniform.
Come on, but I guess what screen?
Yeah,
it was loud in Detroit, and I think it was like the 5th loudest the stadium's ever been inside the United States. Throwing that out there. You don't see that.
That's cool. That's
Sounds
sick.
like you made it up. Sounds like you made it up.
It's definitely a Twitter stat that I cannot quote at this time, but I saw it.
Twitter never lies.
No, the Lions looked good. I didn't have like any once I was watching how that game was going, I didn't have any doubt in my mind the Lions were going to win that, even though it did come down to the end and it was close. But Puka sets more records onto his record-breaking season, highest ever playoff game by a rookie, receiving yards 181, in a tutty.
I want to give Puka the credit, but that Lions defense has given up a literally 10-catch, 200-yard receiver every week. Like, it makes sense that he would do that against the Lions.
It's crazy. It was interesting to me. Like, that game really cemented Cooper Kupp just maybe not even coming back next year.
It's possible.
With just,
he's not even a part of the offense, really.
The only time he's a part of the offense is 3-yard outs, and they get inside the 10-yard line, and they throw it to him 3 times.
And they didn't score a touchdown on any of his targets in the red zone. So it's like, why is he even here at this point?
Yeah, he looked not great. He looked slow, and he's just not getting open. He's not creating separation like he did 2 years ago.
It's crazy how people just fall off a cliff like that.
It is.
They get right around the age of 30.
And he did
suddenly...
a couple surgeries, right? A couple ankle surgeries later, he might slow down a little bit.
Nice.
There's some funny storylines out of this game, including the Kelly Stafford. She's always got to be in the headlines.
I actually like Kelly Stafford. I feel like she's getting a lot of hate.
I don't know.
I hate Kelly.
I hate Kelly, too.
She's super annoying, but I get it.
She poured her drink on a fan.
Good.
Like,
I like it.
Yeah.
Like the tenacity. To be fair, like, she was probably getting treated so terribly to a team that, like, Stafford like built.
Go ahead. I have a strong opinion about this because it's kind of been a divide about whether we should have booed him or not. And it's like, of course you're going to fucking boo him. You want his kids to die. You want his wife to die. Like, bro, he asked to leave. Yeah. We got him to leave. And then he comes back. Cute little jackets, born in Detroit, raised in LA. Get the fuck out of here. This shit's a playoff game. I don't know who you fucking thought you were coming to D-Town for the first home playoff game in 30 years thinking this shit was going to be about you. Shit's not about you, Chief. You and your fucking family can go fuck off back to Yodi land. That's my feeling on it.
All right, P actually convinced me the other way. I'm cool with it now. I'm cool with it. Yeah, I don't know. The Lions might be the dirtiest team in the league. Like, holy.
Facts. Dude,
there was probably 4 to 5 hits in that game that I watched that reminded me of NFC Championship Bounty Gate against Brett Favre. Like, Stafford's, did you see that hit where he's just on the ground, unconscious? He was in the upside down, bro. He was in another dimension. And then they let him go back in. They took him to the medical tent and they let him go back in.
Yeah,
that was crazy. I can't believe he went back after that.
Yeah, the Lions honestly are a bunch of scumbags, and I hope they get knocked out by Baker. So
I hope they beat the Buccaneers and we go to Detroit for the championship. And I hope we dominate the Lions and the refs make a bunch of terrible calls against the Lions too. I really hope. I really want to hear the whining from the Lions fans.
They got I'm gonna be honest, they got almost all of the fucking calls in that game too. So ain't no complaining about the refs in that one.
There was a false start that they called.
Yeah, that false start was egregious. I don't know what you're talking about, P. That took like.
I'm talking about the fucking fact that on Staff's legacy drive to fucking bury these fucking little kiddies, there was a fucking blatant hold PI and a late hit on the same fucking fourth down play. And if they called one of the 3 penalties that happened, the Rams would have got a first down, chewed some clock, and kicked a game-winning field goal. I don't give a fuck about some false start that happened on the fucking 10-yard line in the third quarter. I'm talking about the Lions love to blow it up. Oh my God, the last play of the game, everyone knows that the penalty that happens on the game-winning drive is the only one anyone gives a fuck about, and they got bailed the fuck out when the Rams are headed down to win the game. So that's all I got.
The Rams got bailed out. The Rams got bailed out. But did you even watch that false start?
Oh my God!
They were on, I hate to say it, but P is definitely wrong on this one.
Holy shit!
That false start was a huge call, and it was obviously wasn't a false start. It was an offsides, and it would have given them a first down in field goal range, but instead they had to punt. That was a huge call, actually. But other than that.
Sorry, this year. Like, the refs have been so bad. I've been calling for them since like the Colts game against the Browns. The refs are so bad, and it's ruining the game.
Great teams find a way to overcome the refs. Great teams don't put themselves in spots to lose the game because of the refs.
There you go.
Talking to you, Cowboys.
I'm so sick of the ref whining all year, every year, bro.
Really
I'm over it. I am honestly over it. Like, if you're that good, if you're good enough Don't put yourself in a spot to have the refs decide an outcome of the game. Don't put it in the refs' hands.
With all that being said, I absolutely hope the refs end the Lions season. I just can hear them whine constantly.
I know. It's all copium. Like, it's because you don't want to blame your team, so you blame something else. The weather, the refs.
There's like
anything but the Lions.
There's like 2 instances that I can like legitimately like blame the refs on in the past like 10 years. And it was that Saints blatant PI penalty in the playoff game, and then the Packers fail Mary. Those are like the 2 where it's like an outcome that the refs clearly decided the wrong call that decided the game. Other than that, like all these people that are pulling screenshots from like second quarter random drives on 2nd and 10, or it's like a 7-3 game in the first quarter, and people are like, the refs are on the Rams. The refs are on the Rams. It's like, bro, it's the second quarter. Like, it's 1 penalty. You could call a penalty on every play, bro. It's so annoying. Like, literally, you could take any screenshot from any play and find a penalty.
Literally.
It's the worst. It's like the refs got to do. I mean, yeah, the refs haven't been great, but like, it is what it is. They're doing what they can do.
If this happens to the Packers, I revoke everything that's been said up until this point, and I will absolutely blame the refs 100%.
I hope Jalen Reeves gets like the whole 2017 Saints situation. You know, he gets held egregiously.
Well, Connor, I would say something mean about your team, but your team can't even make it. So, sucks to suck. Suck my balls. Let's move on to Bills Steelers. The Bills won 31-17. And Josh Allen balled.
Josh Allen did ball.
What do you guys think?
What did you guys think about all of the controversy over the fake slide? Was it a fake slide?
It was not a fake fucking slide. Those people that think that's a fake slide are the softest fucking bitches I've ever seen.
I like how aggressive this podcast is today.
I'm going to stand straight up and fake squat without even bending my knees. Like, how the fuck is that a slide, bro? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills dominated that game. I had no doubt in my mind. I had them -10. And that was good. Nice. I don't think there's too much else to touch on. Steelers didn't even belong in the playoffs. They belonged. They earned their spot there, but they were clearly the worst team in the playoffs.
Barely.
We can talk about the Bucs-Eagles quick. Baker balled. 337 yards, 3 tutties.
Baker's hot right now.
32-9. Smoked the Eagles.
The Lions secondary is worried right now. They're
worried bro. I don't know if
Godwin's the receiver that smokes him this game. Godwin's the over-the-middle guy. Mike Evans is the deep ball down the side.
Bro, it's any of them.
Yeah.
Any of these guys. I mean, look at this.
Who was that young receiver? Was he a rookie who basically took over the Godwin?
Trey Palmer's the 3rd string that caught a 56-yard TD. David Moore's the 4th string that caught a 44-yard TD. Cade Otton just went 8 receptions for 89 yards, and they annihilated the Eagles with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin being their 4th and 5th options. And Godwin's shit came on a 23-yard tutty when the game was over. So, like, they beat the Eagles with Otton, David Moore, and Trey Palmer. And they're about to go against the Lions pass defense that's just non-existent.
It's very interesting because I picked the Eagles last week too, and I have no faith in the Bucs, even though the Bucs came into Lambeau and Baker put up a perfect passer rating. The Bucs have like had games, and Baker's hot right now. I think the Lions are overlooking the Bucs a little bit. The Lions think they have the easiest path ever, which I mean it is setting up nice for them. You'd rather play the Bucs than the Cowboys, but I don't know. I think Baker's tough to play on the road too. Like when Baker's on the road, I mean.
Yeah. I think Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying Baker is a wild card though. Like Baker if Baker went out and threw 7 interceptions, like no one's gonna be like, what happened to Baker?
It'd be like Joe Flacco's breakdown against Houston, right? It'd be like, oh, there's the Joe Flacco throwing 2 pick sixes back to back that I know and love. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I think I was gonna say I think that the biggest ask from this team, from the Lions, is cool. You just had the most emotional moment of your city in 30-something years. you have another fucking game to play this week. Where are you going to be at mentally? I know Dan Campbell is a rah-rah guy. He can fire you up, but can he calm you down? Because this team should probably be pumping the brakes, taking deep breaths, practicing mindfulness, focusing, watching film. Don't just chalk it up to, wow, we won our first playoff game. We're hosting another one. It's Baker. We can do this shit. Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah. Like, shit's not over, okay? Like, lock it in.
I don't even know if the Lions are aware what happens when you win a playoff game. Because I think they're still doing victory laps around Ford Field. I don't even know if they know they have another game this week.
And they, like, who's going to be, like, okay, we can get the team fired up, but who's going to be the guy that says, whoa, let's lock in, let's calm it down, because it's like, that team could go off the rails really fucking quick. Like you said, you could see Baker choking. Bro, I could see the Lions losing 28-3 or some shit like that. Like,
you're crazy. You're crazy.
Dude, Connor.
This game's already been played. This game's already been played. And hey, on top of that, are you forgetting that Tampa's got to come to Detroit, play outdoors in -9 degrees? Right?
Come to Detroit, and they're playing
He's making a joke. He's making a joke because someone asked Todd Bowles how the team is preparing to play in Detroit, and he's like, "Well, they're playing in a dome like they have for the past 30 years." So. He's making a joke while trying to argue. It's kind of
3D jokes.
Curveball. He threw a curveball at us.
Alrighty, should we just hop in that game first? We can just talk Bucks Lions. It's Bucks at Lions.
Fuck it. Let's get in.
Lions are 6.5-point favorites, over under 48.5. That's a lot of points. 6.5. That's more than I thought it'd be. I thought it would be solid 4.5, 3.5.
Cakewalk, Connor. Do the Bucks even score in this game? You think?
I've said what I need to say. I actually predicted before I looked at the line. I'm like, it's probably 7. And I pulled it up. It was 6. Yeah, give me the Lions. This game's already been played. We're gonna win by 14 plus.
Dude,
gonna throw 2 picks.
Guess what game? Guess what? Let me fucking educate you, my friend. Okay, so what did the Lions do? They go on the road to Lambeau, right? Game was already played. Well, who the fuck came to town and fist fucked you on Thanksgiving? I don't want to fucking hear this game is already played. The Lions played good against the Bucks on the road. Well, guess who's knocking at Ford Field, baby? God damn, sitting here telling me game's already been played. It's a different fucking game.
Yep, this game's being played in the last house now, all right?
Oof. I got worked up there. Sorry. I apologize to all the viewers. It was graphic.
Yeah, Lions -14 and plus. I'll take them anything -14 right.
It's a lot of points.
I've said enough. I've said enough.
We've got a lot of P. Connor analysis. What you got, Josh?
This one's interesting. I feel similar to the Lions-Rams game. I mean, if you just ignored the Eagles game, I don't have any faith in the Bucks. The Eagles are completely collapsing from the inside. I'm leaning Lions. I think the Lions are tough. I think the Lions will beat them. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it'll be a tight game, probably similar to the Rams game. But I'm definitely thinking Lions are going to win this one again.
Solid. I'm torn again on this game. I think it's going to be super close. I just don't see how the Lions... I can see a situation where the Lions lose, but in my mind, what I see is... I see if I pick Tampa, the Lions roll. I see if I pick Detroit gets upset in a shocker. So I'm going to go Detroit for that reason. So I'm playing some mind games here. I'm going to pick Detroit. I think they win, and I'd be surprised if Tampa wins. But I'm cheering for Tampa, even though I honestly think if the Packers somehow find a way to beat the Niners, I think I would honestly rather play the Lions than play the Bucks again.
I'm good with that. I agree.
I think I would honestly rather play the Lions.
Where's the logic in that? So we're going to pick the Lions against the Bucks, but we would rather play them, meaning that deep down in your heart, you know that they're the worst team.
I just like our matchup better.
I just like seeing the Lions lose. And by the chance, if we do beat, I mean, it's a lot of ifs and buts. I'm not going to worry about all the ifs and buts. Like, we'll play with whoever's in front of us, and we're going to find a way to win.
Exactly.
But
yeah,
it's just, yeah, it's very interesting. I'm going to go Lions. I'd be very surprised if the Lions lose. That's what I wrote down before the pod started. I'm sticking with the Lions. Yeah.
Yep.
We can start with the first game on the slate now. Texans at the Ravens. Ravens are 9-point favorites over under 43.5. This game initially opened at 10, I believe, and then shot down to 9.5, and now it's down to 9.
Yeah, I like the Ravens here. It's going to be a close game. Nico Collins is going to go off just because no one's figured out. You stop Nico, you stop the Texan. So yeah, give me the Texans +9, but the Ravens win.
I don't know. Connor's takes have just not made sense to me. It was like Devin Singletary's just been cooking lately, and like Dalton Schultz also cooking, and like that now they got Brevin Jordan at tight end capable of 77-yard TDs, and he's sitting here saying stop Nico and you win the game when it's just not
You're
true.
talking like Dalton Schultz is Travis Kelce and Devin Singletary's prime Adrian Peterson.
I'm not.
I would say Dalton Schultz is very comparable to Kittle. Oh, you said Kelce? Oh, Kelce.
I didn't compare them to anyone. I was just saying that they're a part of the team. They get yards. He's saying stop Nico. Stroud, from what I've seen, does not give a fuck who it is. He's got his plays and he's throwing to open guys. I mean, these dudes are uncovered, right? I don't think he's ever cared. Why do you think Noah Brown also has 250-yard games this year? Why do you think Tank Dell did what he? I mean, he's not like, oh, fuck it, there's Nico. He's running his plays and his dudes are open. I don't think it's just like one guy is running the Stroud show. I think they're a well-coached
I
team.
agree with what you're saying here. I agree with what you're saying. You're not wrong. I'm just saying that Tank Dell's not playing. You got Robert Woods.
Tank Dell hasn't played since like week 9, week 10.
Yeah.
What are we talking about Tank Dell for?
Well, he brought up Tank Dell and who's the other guy that you said?
Noah Brown also on IR.
Yeah, both not playing in this game. So yeah, he's not just throwing anything.
But I was saying it doesn't matter.
Open. But the problem is the guys who are going to be getting open are like street.
I mean, he dropped 44 last week.
John Mechie's literally Jamison Williams. They're the same fucking player.
Against arguably the best defense in the NFL.
I'm just gonna fast forward to where I picked the Ravens because they haven't played a defense like this, and also Lamar is an MVP. So
yeah, my knee-jerk reaction is just to take the Ravens. Don't even think about it. But the Texans did just slice up.
Yeah,
statistically the best defense in the
a
league.
great defense.
So that does like make me rethink it a little bit. But I don't see the Texans being able to repeat that against a really, like, the Ravens are probably a top 3 defense. The Browns were the best defense, but I don't think they can repeat it. The Ravens also have a good offense and not Joe Flacco, so I'm taking the Ravens.
This game is giving me Ravens-Rams vibes from the regular season, where I think it's going to be a back-and-forth shootout, very close game. Could go to OT. Give me the Texans. I think the Ravens have really like proved me wrong in the sense of I have not been a Ravens believer all year, and they really proved me wrong when they went in and smacked the Niners. I'm just not a believer, and I think having a bye, and we've almost seen it year in, year out, I don't want to call it a disadvantage having a bye, but some of these bye teams come off bye, and these Ravens starters haven't played in, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks at this point? And it's like, there's going to be some type of rust, whereas the Texans and Packers going against the 1 seeds this week are in spots where it's like they both have nothing to lose. They come in with a chip on their shoulder, huge underdogs. I mean, 9 and 10-point dogs in the playoffs is a lot of points. Give me the Texans. Alrighty, boys. Let's move into we've talked quite a bit already about this game, but Packers at the Niners. Niners are 9-point favorites over under 50.5, which I think is high.
How do you guys feel about the spread? Do you feel like that's a pretty fair spread?
I'm not surprised. I thought it would be 8.5, so I was pretty close. Like I said, 8.5, 9. Josh, I told Josh that after we won that Cowboys game, and he's like, "No way."
I know. I'm shocked that's. I mean, after the Cowboys game, I would think like maybe they would reevaluate a little bit and make it like a 6-point or something instead of, but they went higher with. I mean, the Niners are better than the Cowboys, but I, I mean, with that point spread, they're basically saying, in my opinion, they're basically saying the Cowboys were terrible and that's why the Packers advanced. They're not really saying like, oh, the Packers are a really good team and
I
they're
don't agree.
really contenders.
I think
That's how I
I
see
think they're
it. The
playing the
spread.
same situation of the Packers owning the Cowboys. I mean, they didn't play that last week, but they're thinking in the same way that the Packers own the Cowboys, the Niners own the Packers. And if you look at
Yeah,
some of these
that's
past Packer Niner games, we've
yeah.
just gotten rolled.
It's been rough against the Niners, but I'm kind of going with the mindset of this is a completely different team and we don't have Aaron Rodgers anymore and we are the underdog.
Jordan Love doesn't
So
know. He doesn't know any
I'm trying
better,
to shake,
bro.
I'm
He
trying to
doesn't know
shake
about the
the
boogeyman that
bad
is the
juju.
49ers.
I'm trying to shake the bad juju.
Jordan Love's playing with house money, bro.
It's gonna be interesting, but I am shocked at how big the point spread is.
How do you think
Thought
the
they would
Packers
adjust.
win this game, Josh? What do they have to do to win this?
I think if the Packers win this game, I think they're going to do it in a very similar fashion to what they did to the Cowboys. Like, if we win this game, I don't think it's going to be close. I think Brock Purdy's going to throw multiple interceptions, and we're going to completely shut down their offense until the game's out of reach, and then that we give up like 24 points in dead time for no reason and put our backups in like 3 minutes too early. But if we win the game, I think we're going to dominate them. I don't think it's going to be close. And if we lose, I think it's going to be close. I think they would hit a field goal at the end or something.
I think the key to the game starts on the very first drive of the game. I think it starts at the coin toss because the Niners are not going to let us get the ball first. Like, they've made that clear that they're taking the ball if they win the toss. And we've made it clear that we're taking the ball if we win the toss. Basically, with what we've done the past 4 weeks, we've been taking the ball on the toss. And, I mean, we got to get up early. We got to get ball first. I think we got to go punch in like a 7-minute drive touchdown like we did against the Cowboys and let Purdy play from behind and let Purdy beat us if it's going to happen.
Yeah, we can't let them establish a Christian McCaffrey game.
If it gets to a point where they get up early and they can just feed CMC and then go play action and get Debo and Ayuk and Kittle involved, that's how we could get smoked in this game. But if we get up early, that's where I like our chances.
Who's Jair going to shadow?
Jair doesn't shadow. We let our linebackers cover their best receivers half the plays, which is very interesting strategy. It kind of worked out last week in the first half.
Yeah.
But yeah, Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker regarding CeeDee Lamb half the game, which is not ideal.
If you're the offensive coordinator going against the Packers and you're watching tape, you got to be thinking like, so the only thing I have to do is put my best receiver in the slot, and there's gonna be a linebacker guarding him one-on-one every play. I don't understand.
Sounds like
it seems great.
What it is we just play zone every play, and the linebackers are playing the middle zone, and they just had CD in the slot every play last week, and they were just hitting quick hitters to him. But it's interesting, and I think we're gonna have a lot in our back. I mean, this is a game where everything you've had in the back pocket all season that you haven't broke out, this is the game you break it out. You show them different looks. I think we have to be super aggressive on defense and not be afraid to give up the big play. I'm fine if we give up a big play or two that ends in a big touchdown or something. We just have to be aggressive. We got to get some pressure and make Purdy feel uncomfortable. And if they win their one-on-one matchups, it is what it is at that point. What I don't want to do is sit back, play coverage, and have CMC, Debo, and Ayuk and Kittle just torch Quay Walker and Devondre Campbell. That's what I don't want to do.
Methodical down the field.
Mm-hmm. Purdy's the key, honestly. I think Purdy's going to be due for an interception or two. I think he's going to make the mistakes, and our offense is just going to have to stay hot. I think we're going to have to score a lot of points. What do you think, B? What do you think about this game?
I think you're like half right about Purdy. I think the game starts, in my mind, offensive and defensive lines. And I mean, Baltimore gave you the script on how to beat this team in San Francisco. And it started with four sacks and 9 QB hits on Baltimore's side, and then only 2 sacks and 4 QB hits for San Francisco. So if your homie was it Rashawn Gary just had 3 sacks on deck, if your guys are getting home and forcing Purdy, the game manager, to make these errors and make these mental mistakes, I mean, I'm looking at these stats. McCaffrey still went 103, 7.4 a carry tutty. Kittle had 126 on 7. Ayuk had 6 for 113. I mean, those guys are going to get their fucking stats, right? And that they were down 33-12 at like those guys are going to get their stats. That's just going to happen. Doesn't mean that you can't blow them out. Like you said, you got to force the Purdy turnovers. That's key one. Force Purdy to like not set his feet and just throw to the open guy. And I think that Green Bay's defense is like severely underrated, especially Rashawn Gary in that pass. 3 sacks from Rashawn Gary against the best offensive line in football. I mean, they just proved they could go on the road to a team that had the longest winning streak at home and beat them in their house. San Francisco, guess what? Lost 3 weeks ago at home. So there's a script out there for how to beat San Francisco. Also, I want to note Jaden Reed because he may not have had a reception. If you watch that game, homie is every play. He's running around. He's Tyreek. He's the window dressing. He's over here. He's over there. He's in the backfield. You know, dude didn't have a catch, but you best believe that the Cowboys were like looking around like, where the fuck is that guy going? You know, like it's hard to like these offenses that do that. It's hard to set up a defense because it's like, oh, there goes Jaden Reed to the left. Whoops, Aaron Jones 10 yards to the right. And then they do the same thing, except this time it's play out to the Jones and Jaden Reed's uncovered. Like, I don't know. It's a hard game to pick. I think that's the keys. That's how Green Bay wins it. And I want to pick Green Bay again, and I'm going to pick Green Bay again. So
let's go, P. One thing I want to add on to that really quick is Reed on the stat sheet didn't have anything to do in that game, no catches. But yet, like you say, if you watch that game, Reed and Watson, when you watch those big plays to Dobbs, if you just watch the routes that Reed and Watson ran on those plays, Watson had 3 guys on him on one of those plays, and Dobbs is uncovered 25 yards down the field. Like, sure, Watson had 1 catch, Reed had 0 catches, and on paper maybe didn't have a huge say in the game. But when they were out there, Dallas made it very clear that they were going to cover those guys, and they were going to let Romeo Doubs beat them. They were going to let Luke Musgrave beat them. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this Packers team is you don't even know who you have to cover. You don't know who the weapon is. Because it's like we just spread the ball around so much. We don't have a number one. We don't need a number one. We have 5 number ones. We have 10. We have 10 number ones, bro. We have Aaron Jones, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, Bo Melton, Malik Heath, who was inactive this week. We're so deep. Malik Heath was inactive. Jaden Reed, Wicks. I'm missing one more. Reed? Did I say Reed? It's crazy.
Dobbs. Dobbs.
And Dobbs. There's just so many weapons, man. It's like it could be a different guy every week. And they're so unselfish, too. And they all block. They all block well, too.
It's such a good – it honestly is a great – like, it's well coached. And I mean, I like the team, how they're playing right now. I mean, that's the thing about all of these games that we're picking and all of these teams. It's just like, can they sustain what we've seen to this point? Or when are we going to get the next Dallas-type collapse where Dallas was coming in, you know, not looking terrible, unbeatable at home, and it's just like, you know, when are we going to get the next collapse? You know, and so it's like, why can't it be San Francisco? Because, like you said, Green Bay is not playing with a fear of, oh, no, we choked. I mean, Green Bay is what makes them dangerous is like you've been saying. They're young. They got swag. They're balling right now. There is no pressure on this Packers team. They're going to show up and they're going to say, "Oh, you're the team with the pressure, and we're here to fuck up your day." Which is the best team? Which is the best position to beat in? Can you stop? Anyway, that's my take. Oh God.
So I'm on the Pack. P's on the Pack. Josh is on the Pack. What do you got, Connor? What do you think about this game?
Goes without saying here. I agree with your assessment earlier in the sense that if this game's going to be won by the Packers, it's going to be offensive clinic out there. They got to put up 35-plus points. And I think a big part of this game is going to be Aaron Jones. If they can get the running game going and open up the play action where you can hit Jalen Reed on a streaker down the sideline or hit Christian Watson, I think that's the only way the Packers compete. But Aaron Jones has to be running his ass, like 6+ yards a carry. I don't know if AJ Dillon's been involved. I'm not the biggest Packers watcher, but
He hasn't played the
I've
last
noticed
3 weeks.
Aaron Jones is definitely very dynamic in both the passing and the running game. So he's got to be very involved. He's going to have to take a lot of attention away from the San Francisco defense if the Packers are going to win the game. But I don't think they do. I think the Packers are just outmatched here, and they're traveling to San Francisco. So I can't pick Pack here.
I think we're 0-4 against the Niners in the playoffs over the past 10 years. Rodgers is 0-4 in the playoffs against the Niners. I know that. It was probably over the past 10 years. Another interesting stat. Let's move on to the next game, boys. We got the Bucks at the Lions. We've talked about kind of all these games in depth a bit.
Yeah.
We can go more in depth with whatever you guys want to talk about. Lions. Oh, we already did this game. We literally already did this game. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm just going down the list, boys. I'm tripping.
It's okay. It's all good.
Chiefs at the Bills. Bills are 3-point favorites, over under 45.5. It's the last game on the slate, boys.
It's a classic.
Honestly, the best game on the slate.
It's going to be a good game.
Chiefs. I've seen a lot of people. Yeah, I'm not surprised that the Bills are 3-point favorites. I don't know. Both teams have been very inconsistent throughout the season, so it's kind of just a toss-up. I just like what not San Francisco, the Chiefs have done recently in the past few weeks with Rashee Rice. I think that's you guys said it earlier. That's their guy in offense now, and it's super nice for Pat Mahomes to have a guy who he can trust on top of Kelsey. Pacheco's a dog. I think he's very underrated. I think they're just a better team. Josh Allen, turnover machine. Josh, you said it all season. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Josh Allen, a couple of big turnovers when it matters, and the Chiefs just pull it out in the end.
Yeah, that's a funny take because I was actually thinking of the exact same take. I think this game is going to be decided by Josh Allen. If Josh Allen turns the ball over, the Chiefs win. If Josh Allen plays a clean game like he did last week, the Bills are going to – I think the Bills might win by more than 10 points. I don't know. We'll see. I think I'm leaning towards Josh Allen's going to play a clean game and the Bills win, though. That's what I'm thinking.
I think that Kansas City is actually extremely similar to Pittsburgh in terms of their identity. I think we heard it a lot. I don't know who those of you that watched the game last week, but they are definitely defense first this year, which is different for them. Like their defense has been playing extremely well, and they're sound in their fundamentals. And then also, one of their top threats in how they get the drives going is with Pacheco, and getting 5-6 yards a carry on first down with him to set up everything else. So I think that they play the same way. And I watched that Steelers-Bills game, and I remember vividly seeing the Steelers down by 7 in the third. And the one thing they didn't have, they had a third-string quarterback, right? So I think you got a team that's similar to Pittsburgh, but now with an MVP Super Bowl champ, Pat Mahomes, who's going to do more to play around his team's strengths than Mason Rudolph will. I think the Chiefs will win this game. It'll be a really close game, and I don't think it matters about Josh Allen's turnovers. I think Josh Allen can play a clean game, and it would still be really good. I'm excited to see this one, and I think the Chiefs just have like a slight edge. I think.
You got the Chiefs, P?
I got the Chiefs.
All right. I'm riding solo, boys. With my Bills. I've been on the Bills all season. In an interesting point, you guys, sure, Josh Allen's turned the ball over a good amount. He's a gunslinger. But if you look at a lot of those turnovers, I don't even mind some of them. Because a lot of them are third and longs, and he's slinging one up, giving his guy a chance. Or he's just he's rolling left, trying to just make a play on third down. A lot of his picks have come on third down. And you guys want to talk Josh Allen picks? Sure. He's got 18 picks on the season. You're calling him a turnover machine? Mahomes has 14 picks this season, too. It's not like Mahomes hasn't been turning the ball over. The Chiefs have had their worst year, and Mahomes has had by far his worst year, going against a hot Bills team that hasn't lost in, 7 weeks, 8 weeks? At home, in the cold, surrounded by a fan base that has 4 Super Bowl losses and has had so much bad stuff happen to them in the playoffs. It's so interesting. I just don't see the Bills losing this game. Mahomes' first road playoff game ever. It's going to be insanely loud. It's going to be cold. It's going to be like 20 degrees, it looks like. Give me Josh Allen and the boys. I think
I also picked the Bills.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Josh did
Yeah.
say Buffalo.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going Bills. I'm changing. I love that take way too much, Jake. You were just solid. That was spot on. I'm changing.
Jake thought he was on an island.
Now P's on an island, bro.
I mean, first of all, my take was Josh Allen doesn't even need to turn the ball over. I wasn't resting my Wolverines and the Chiefs win because of Josh Allen turning the ball over. I think the Chiefs are just, like you said, Mahomes is having a down year, but my take was that the team isn't built around Mahomes this year. They're built around Pacheco and the defense. And if you're putting Mahomes into the position where there's not a lot of pressure on him, like I think he hasn't needed to perform extraordinarily for that team to do, things. And yeah, they've lost a few games. So in Buffalo, everyone lost a few games this year. But yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a good game. I don't hate anyone's takes.
I love both the quarterback rushing yards in this game. I think Mahomes and Josh Allen are going to be running a lot.
What is the Josh Allen's yards at?
Like 52.5. His is high.
Yeah.
I think Mahomes is at like 27 or 28, which are both really high. Mahomes got that on one run last week, and so did Josh Allen, actually.
Yeah, that's on the 50-yarder. Yeah.
That run was crazy, too.
That was not a fake slide.
Just embarrassed the Steelers on that play. Sweet boys, that wraps up our picks for the week. P, I know we talked about it a little bit before the pod started. You want to go? I don't know if you want to mention it publicly, what you got riding on future-wise for your Super Bowl picks, and I can throw out what I got riding out there too.
Okay. I mean, before the playoffs, I went and picked some teams that I thought were in a position to make a run. So I did pick up the Packers at like 125-1 before the playoffs started, and then right before the playoffs, like for some reason they dropped to like 170-1. So I placed a second wager on them, and then I also have Detroit I think I got them at like 30-1 before the playoffs. So even though I've been picking against them every week, I still have their future. And then I also have the Chiefs right now, which I got them at like 9 or 10-1. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, P's got some juicy ones out there. I won't mention any money lines, but they are juicy. Mine are a little bit smaller. I have Bills win the Super Bowl. I clear like 450. I think I got them at like 42-1, 44-1 or something, $10. And then I got the Packers at 125-1 to win like a little over 1,000. So be interesting. Both pretty long. I think the Bills have, obviously in Vegas, have a much better shot right now. Like the Packers dropped to like 25-1. I think the Bills are sitting around like 8-1.
I did want to throw a stat out there really quick that I from what I remember one of your takes, Jake, where you were saying about the bye being a disadvantage, and it made me think because I know that last year both the 1 seeds went to Super Bowl, so I had to look this up. Like, is it a disadvantage to have the bye week or not? So since 1990, when the NFL expanded to their playoff format of 12 teams, which I know it's currently 14, but basically since they started doing the seeding situation, actually 34 of the 66 1 seeds have made the Super Bowl in some capacity, which is over half. And then 15 of those, so about a 20-25% have won the Super Bowl. So while it may be a disadvantage because you have 2 weeks off, statistically, one of these 1 seeds is going to the Super Bowl this year. Like, it's just a matter of which one it is.
Interesting. So, good to know.
Good
research. I like it, Pete.
Yeah, I had to research it. Yep.
Sweet. Connor, you said you had a segment or something you wanted to knock out?
Yeah, well, you know me, boys. I always got my goofy stories. This is some non-playoff news. It's actually pretty serious. It's a serious topic here. Jim Irsay, I mentioned it last week on the pod. We know what happened. It's not a respiratory illness. He's battled his demons throughout his years. He's I guess still battling them because he overdosed in his bathroom. Locked the door. They found him passed out. Gave him some Narcan. He's
Allegedly.
he's
Say
in
allegedly
stable
so we
condition.
don't get sued, please. Say allegedly.
He's allegedly in stable condition, which can mean a lot of things. Could be on hospice and be stable. So I don't know. There's a lot of whispers in Indy right now. They think that Jim Irsay might be breathing his last breath here in the next couple of days, and that they're just trying to figure out the inheritance thing with team here. Because if you know the Rams history, the Rams actually they had their owner die. The people who were next in line to take the inheritance couldn't keep the team because the inheritance tax the United States has, which is anywhere from 18 to 40%. They had to sell the team, and that's why the Rams ended up moving to LA. Same thing can happen with the Colts. And one thing Jim Irsay talked about a lot this last year is how he wants the NFL to be international. It would not surprise me if Jim Irsay somehow gets around the tax code, the daughters inherit the team, and the team ends up being the first international team in the NFL. It would not surprise me. I'm not for it. I want the Colts to stay in Indy, but hey, I'm just saying it could happen. Stars are aligning.
Seems like you really don't want the Colts to stay in Indy.
I think if the Colts move to Grand Rapids, that'd be sick.
Grand Rapids, yeah, that's
massive market over here. Yeah.
We're already a small market team in Indy. You can't. I mean, you can't get
no. Indianapolis is a massive fucking city.
We're small market. We're small market.
Move over to Traverse City while you're at it.
An even smaller market than Grand Rapids is Green Bay. So we'll be all right.
I think the Colts should go to China. I think that's a great market for them.
Oh yeah,
over there.
Fucking give them a team, please.
Now that's a market. If you want to talk about markets,
yeah,
China or India.
Yeah, imagine China and India both with a team, bro. Be crazy.
All right, boys. I'm gonna hit you with one last segment before we wrap up the pod. It's gonna be a quick one.
Let's go.
I'm gonna give you all my favorite bets of the week, and I'm not gonna tell you whether I'm over, under, whatever. I'm just gonna give you the line. You tell me over, under. We don't even need to go deep into it. Just hit me with over or under. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
C.J. Stroud over under 240.5 passing yards.
I'm over.
Under.
Jordan Love over under 247.5 passing yards.
Over. Also, that depends on that.
Under.
Baker Mayfield over 253.5 passing yards. Over under.
Double it and over. Still over.
Under.
Dude.
Jordan Love over under 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Over.
That one's tough.
I'll go over.
That's such a good line.
Over's at minus 131 right now.
If you're taking the over on passing yards, you would take the over
not
on
true.
the touchdown.
That's not true. I'm gonna go over.
Aaron Jones dominates the Cowboys.
I go over on passing yards because as a bettor, I have more coverage for if the game. You just asked me if the two quarterbacks playing the 1 seed are going to go over on yards. If the Rams game is 30-7, there's no games to rest Stroud. He's going to go in there and he's going to go over, even though they lost by 20 points. Like as a bettor, I'm taking the over to cover myself in case of a blowout. So I don't think it guarantees 2 tutties because he goes over 250. I think it's a close one, especially given that I just watched Aaron Jones walk from the 1 yard line 3 different times like last week. So, I mean, I'm going to go over because he does find his red zone tutties just as much as Aaron does. But
all that, and you side with it.
Well, I was thinking about it, and then you got up in my face about it, about how it should be obvious, and I just don't think it is obvious.
Josh Allen over under 1.5 passing touchdowns.
Over.
Under.
I'm going under as well.
Aaron Jones over under 71.5 rushing yards.
Under.
I'm under as well.
Yeah, that one's tough.
It's a lot.
Push.
I love that take.
Kelsey over under 61.5 receiving yards.
Under.
Under.
Stephon Diggs over under 64.5 receiving yards.
Under.
0. He's not catching the ball.
Stephon Diggs over under 5.5 receptions.
Under.
Again, 0.
He's been getting a lot of receptions for not a lot of yards.
This is true.
Chris Godwin over under 5.5 receptions.
Under.
0. Yeah, under.
I don't know. That one's tough. Motion.
It is. They use way too many people in that offense to have any faith in any single one of those guys going over.
And then we just got the spreads.
Okay.
I can just tell you. Texans plus 9.5. Or Ravens minus 9.5.
Texans.
I'm probably taking the points. Yeah, it's a lot of points.
Texans.
Packers plus 9.5 or Niners minus 9.5.
Definitely taking the points.
Packers.
Give the Niners 6.
Sweet boys. All those picks I had the over on.
Okay.
And then I had Watson anytime touchdown plus 400. Jay Love anytime touchdown 10-1. Which I feel like in a playoff game we get to the 1 and it's like inches.
Yeah.
We're just gonna shove them in for 10-1. I feel like that's way more than it should be. I'm looking at the odds of the other quarterbacks, and Josh Allen's Josh Allen's different, but Josh Allen's minus money to score. Love has ran in 4 touchdowns this year too.
Yeah.
And then Mahomes is like 3-1, which isn't even like he doesn't run a lot, and he probably has just as many rushing touchdowns as Love, if not less. And then Lamar's like minus money.
Right.
Baker is probably like plus 700, I think, plus 800. I looked. Yeah, but Love was 10-1 for some reason, which was interesting.
That's
he
crazy.
really, that could be another thing that we didn't really talk about, is Love's really mobile and he's fast. He hasn't run at all this year. He's ran a couple, like probably 2 times where he's really taken off, or we had a designed run play for him, but he can run. He just doesn't really. So that could be a sneaky X factor that we're not really thinking about. Alrighty, boys. Anything else you want to add before we rip it off here?
One last thing I want to on. My lock of the year, I announced it last week, was the Eagles to lose and then Nick Sirianni to get fired. We're one halfway through it, so Sirianni I think is on the block here. I want to get your guys' take. Is he gone or is he gonna stay?
I'm
gone.
firing him. Yeah.
He'll stay.
I was very
Mike
surprised
McCarthy's
McCarthy stayed.
Yeah, I was too.
I would.
But he's in a bit of a different. I mean, he didn't lose 6 of the last 7 down the stretch. You know, like Sirianni wasn't just one bad game. I mean, the whole team went from the 1 seed to just bombing out of the playoffs in an atrocious fashion. Like,
It's so funny because he talks so much shit on the way up, and when he collapsed, it's just like everyone's pulling the receipts, and I just love it.
He's the most stereotypical Eagles coach to take after that fan base because he's just an absolute scumbag.
Yeah, I agree.
Like he's the most hate. Like he's the easiest guy to hate.
Yeah.
Like when he was literally going in Chiefs fans' faces after the game, like screaming at like Chiefs fans. Just random fans, like near the tunnel. He was going in their faces, like screaming in their faces. Like, who does that as a coach?
Right.
This is nothing new, boy. I've been
Jim
telling
Swartz,
you
maybe.
a buffoon, man.
Yeah, I don't have the level of hatred that you have towards him, Connor, but yeah, he's just an absolute scumbag, and like he was the perfect fit for Philly. The Philly scum, they got what they deserved in their Philly scum coach, and then they threw popcorn at him on his way out in his last game.
I saw
I
that.
love that.
Yeah. That was a hilarious clip.
Alrighty, boys. Thank you, Josh. Thank
Awesome.
you, B. Thank you, Connor. Fun as always. We look forward to next
Yeah.
week with the championship rounds. We're wrapping up. We got 2 final podcasts left in the season, and then once the offseason hits, we'll do podcasts probably right before the NFL draft, maybe right after the NFL draft. Talk some fantasy, talk some predictions for next year. Maybe once a month in the offseason here while we get cooked up ready for the season, and we'll be back in full gear for next year. Love you, boys, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.